I didn't know my life was about to fracture at 5:58 a.m. on my 30th birthday. The room was still dark. The air felt heavy, like the night hadn't decided to leave yet. My phone buzzed once on the nightstand. Short, sharp, final. I reached for it without thinking, expecting a birthday message, maybe a joke, maybe plans. Instead, I read, "Morning. We need to break up. I know this feels sudden, but I've been thinking about it for weeks. I can't do this anymore." That was it. No explanation. No call. No, "I'm sorry." 3 years of my life compressed into 4 lines of text. I read it once. Then again. Then a third time, sitting up in bed, the phone's glow burning my eyes, my heart doing something strange and hollow, like it had forgotten its job. Sebastian, my boyfriend of 3 years. The man who had promised, over and over, that my 30th birthday would be special. My thumbs hovered over the screen. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I didn't ask why. I typed back one word. Sure. And then I blocked him. Every platform, every number, every digital door shut in under 90 seconds. What shocked me wasn't the breakup, it was the relief. I'd been holding my breath for months without realizing it, waiting for the other shoe to drop. And when it finally did, it didn't knock the wind out of me. It confirmed something my body already knew. 3 days later, he showed up at my door, crying, shaking, holding a gift bag meant for my birthday. And behind him, parked 4 houses down, engine running, was the woman he left me for, watching. That was the moment I understood this wasn't just a breakup story. It was a story about being someone's backup plan, about being quietly replaced before you're officially discarded, about how someone can promise you the world and then erase you with a text drafted by another person, and how walking away calmly can hurt them far more than begging ever could. I'm Claire, 30 years old, a structural engineer based in Austin. I design buildings meant to last, load calculations, safety margins, redundancy systems. I believe in preparation, in double-checking, in quiet stability. I bought my small townhouse 5 years ago, proud of the chipped paint I fixed myself, and the garage where I spend weekends doing DIY projects and playing the guitar badly, just for myself. I've always been like that, methodical, grounded, comfortable with routine. Sebastian was the opposite. We met 3 years ago at a Super Bowl party hosted by a mutual friend. I remember standing near the kitchen island, nursing a drink, half listening to the game, when he slid into the conversation like he'd always belonged there. He was 28 then, a social media manager with an easy laugh and a kind of effortless charm that pulled people toward him. He didn't just enter rooms, he lit them up. Where I measured twice and cut once, he trusted instinct. Where I planned weekends, he improvised them. And somehow, instead of clashing, we balanced. Or at least that's what I told myself. Our relationship settled into a rhythm that felt safe. Sunday mornings were ours, breakfast at a small diner near my place, greasy hash browns and burnt coffee, followed by trips to hardware stores. I'd stand in the aisle calculating measurements while Sebastian held up paint swatches, pressing them against his chest, asking, "This one or this one?" Like color was a feeling, not a choice. He teased me for being serious. I teased him for being impulsive. It worked. Or it felt like it did. I got along well with his friends. His family liked me, especially his mother, who once told me, "You calm him down. That's a good thing." I took that as a compliment. I didn't realize it was also a warning. 6 months ago, everything shifted. Sebastian's agency hired a new creative director, Delilah Holt. Suddenly, work wasn't just work anymore. It was late strategy sessions, rooftop networking events, weekend brunches labeled as team building. His schedule filled up while mine stayed the same, and slowly, subtly, I started feeling like I was standing still while he drifted forward without me. His Instagram transformed, carefully curated cocktails, city skylines, candid group shots. Delilah appeared often, always nearby, always smiling. I noticed, but I didn't say anything. Then the phone habits changed. Screen always face down, a new password for work security. Notifications muted. When I leaned over to show him something, he angled the screen away without thinking. Intimacy faded. Headaches, early meetings, exhaustion. Each excuse was reasonable on its own. Together they formed a pattern I didn't want to see. 2 months ago, I tried to talk to him. We were in my living room. I remember because I was folding laundry, something ordinary, grounding. He was scrolling on his phone. "Hey," I said quietly, "can we talk for a minute?" "About what?" he replied, not looking up. "I just feel like we haven't really connected lately." He finally looked at me then, annoyed, defensive. "Are you serious right now? Are you jealous or trying to control me? I have a career, Claire. I can't just drop everything because you're feeling needy." The word needy landed like a slap. "I'm not asking you to drop anything," I said. "I just miss you." "Well, maybe if you had more going on in your own life," he snapped, "you wouldn't be so focused on mine." That shut me down. I told myself it was a busy season, that strong couples push through, that love meant patience. And I ignored the quiet voice in my gut that whispered, "Something here is already broken." After that conversation, I did what I've always been good at. I adjusted. I stopped bringing things up, stopped asking where he was going, stopped waiting up. I told myself I was being supportive, mature, secure. But the truth was, I was shrinking to fit into a version of the relationship that no longer had room for me. Sebastian's life began orbiting entirely around work. Late nights became routine. Quick drinks with the team stretched into hours. Weekend plans dissolved last minute with a casual, "Delilah needs help," as if her name alone explained everything. When he came home, he was distracted, physically present, mentally somewhere else. His laughter belonged to his phone now, soft exhalations at messages he never shared. When I asked who he was texting, he'd answer vaguely, already scrolling again. I noticed how he started dressing differently, sharper, more deliberate. Clothes I'd never seen him wear before appeared in his closet. When I complimented him once, he smiled absently and said, "Oh, Delilah suggested it." That name again. Friends noticed the shift too. One evening, my best friend Adriana and I met for drinks. She listened quietly as I talked in circles, minimizing, rationalizing. "He just seems busy," I said. "It's a big role change." Adriana tilted her head. "Busy people still make time for what matters." I brushed it off. "You don't know him like I do." But she did know me. At home, the silence grew heavier. We stopped doing our Sunday breakfasts. The diner became too far. The hardware store trips disappeared. When I reached for him in bed, he rolled away with a sigh. Every rejection was small, every disappointment explainable, but together they hollowed me out. A week before my birthday, Sebastian insisted he had something big planned. "You're turning 30, he said, smiling. "It has to be special." He booked a rooftop restaurant downtown, promised candles, views, photos. He spoke with enthusiasm I hadn't heard in months, and for a moment, hope flared painfully in my chest. Then the cancellations started. Work stress, client emergencies. Delilah needs me. The night before my birthday, at 9:00 p.m., my phone buzzed. "Babe, I'm so sorry, but I have the worst headache. Can we do your birthday dinner tomorrow instead?" I stared at the message longer than I should have. "Yeah, no problem," I replied. "Feel better." "I promise I won't miss it," he wrote back. "Just need to sleep this off. Love you." I told myself not to overthink it. But somewhere deep inside, something went very still. I lay awake that night, staring at the ceiling, replaying the last 6 months in my head like a forensic reconstruction. The phone habits, the late nights, the way my presence had become optional. I didn't cry. I already knew the dinner wasn't happening. And when my phone buzzed the next morning at 5:58 a.m., with that clinical, detached breakup text, it didn't feel like betrayal. It felt like confirmation. Like my instincts, long ignored, had finally been proven right. I didn't respond with anger or questions because there was nothing left to clarify. He'd already left me, emotionally, long before he told me. The text just made it official. The morning after the breakup felt unreal, like the world had shifted slightly off its axis, but everyone else kept walking straight. I took the day off work without explaining why. I showered, made coffee, sat at my kitchen table, and stared at the wall while the clock ticked too loudly. No tears, no shaking hands, just a strange, echoing emptiness where certainty used to live. By noon, I called Adriana. We met at a small bar near her office, the kind of place that served burgers at lunchtime and smelled like fryer oil and old wood. She took one look at my face and didn't bother with small talk. "Are you okay?" she asked carefully. "Like actually okay?" "I feel calm," I said after a pause. Relieved, almost. She frowned. "Claire, he dumped you via text on your birthday." "I know." I took a sip of my beer. "I think I've been holding my breath for 6 months. It finally happened, and now I can breathe." Adriana didn't smile. "That's not a good sign. That means it was already killing you." I told her everything. The phone, the late nights, Delilah's constant presence, the way I'd been labeled jealous and controlling for asking basic questions. "And you just accepted all of that?" she asked, anger sharpening her voice. I tried not to be the insecure girlfriend. Adriana shook her head. "That's textbook manipulation. When someone's hiding something, they make you feel crazy for noticing." 3 days later, my doorbell rang. I wasn't expecting anyone. I hadn't told Sebastian where I'd gone emotionally, but I hadn't invited him back into my life either. I walked to the door slowly and looked through the peephole. Sebastian stood on my porch, shoulders slumped, eyes red, holding a gift bag with tissue paper poking out of the top. He looked smaller than I remembered, desperate. My chest tightened. Then I glanced past him. 4 houses down the street, parked slightly crooked at the curb, was a familiar car. A sleek sedan with a custom license plate I recognized immediately. Sebastian had once pointed it out in traffic, joking about Delilah's vanity. Delilah sat in the driver's seat, engine running, phone in hand, watching my house. I stood there for 2 full minutes, frozen, staring through that warped circle of glass, while Sebastian knocked again, his voice muffled through the door. "Claire, please," he said, breaking. "We need to talk. This is all a huge mistake." Another knock, louder this time. I made the biggest error of my life. "Please just open the door." Outside, Delilah shifted in her seat, checking her phone, then looking up, directly at my front door. Not hiding, not embarrassed, waiting. Like she expected something. My hand rested on the doorknob. I could feel my heartbeat in my fingertips. Every part of me wanted answers. Closure. A reason. But another part of me, quieter, stronger, knew that opening that door would only pull me back into something I'd finally escaped. I didn't move. Sebastian kept knocking. His voice cracked. He said my name over and over, like repetition might summon the woman I used to be. After a while, the knocking stopped. I watched him wipe his face with the sleeve of his jacket, shoulders shaking, before he turned and walked down the steps. He didn't look at Delilah as he got into her car. She didn't get out. They drove away together. That was when the numbness broke. Not into sobs, into clarity. Who breaks up with someone via text on their birthday, promises a celebration, then shows up 3 days later crying, with the person they left you for waiting in the car? That wasn't confusion. That was calculation. And I realized something else then, something colder and sharper than grief. The breakup text hadn't felt emotional because it wasn't written by someone grieving. It was written by someone already gone. After Sebastian drove away with Delilah, I stood in my entryway for a long time, staring at the closed door like it might start talking if I waited long enough. It didn't. The house felt quieter than it ever had, but for the first time in months, the silence didn't feel accusatory. It felt honest. That night, I barely slept. My mind replayed every interaction from the past 6 months, not with denial anymore, but with brutal clarity. I saw the moments I'd brushed aside, the times I'd swallowed my discomfort to avoid being difficult, the way I'd learned to apologize for wanting presence. I kept asking myself the same question over and over. What did I miss? 2 days later, Sebastian's name started appearing everywhere again, just not directly. He posted nothing himself, but vague quotes began flooding his social media. Sometimes the person you'd take a bullet for is holding the gun. Choosing yourself isn't selfish. His friends filled the comments. "You deserve better. She never appreciated you." Adriana sent me screenshots, furious on my behalf. "You need to see this," she texted. "He's painting you as the villain." I stared at the images, my chest tight, but something inside me had gone still. "Let him," I replied. "People tell stories that help them sleep at night." Then Adriana sent another screenshot. This one was from a coworker's Instagram story, 10 days old, a group shot from a rooftop bar. In the background, unmistakably clear, Sebastian and Delilah stood alone at a high-top table, his body angled toward hers, her hand resting casually on his arm, their heads close together. They looked exactly like a couple. 4 days before my birthday breakup, my hands started shaking, not with rage, but with vindication. It wasn't in my head. It never had been. More photos followed. Team pictures. Office events. Every frame told the same story. Proximity, casual touches, private jokes. Patterns I'd deliberately ignored because acknowledging them would have required action. That evening, Sebastian showed up again. This time, I opened the door, but I didn't step aside. I stayed planted in the doorway, my body a physical boundary. He looked awful. Mascara smudged under his eyes. Hair pulled back in a messy ponytail. He was wearing my old college hoodie, the one I'd been looking for months. "Claire," he whispered, "please, just hear me out." I said nothing. "I was so confused," he rushed on. words tumbling over each other. Delilah was helping me with work stress, and I got my feelings mixed up. I made the worst mistake of my life. I surprised myself by how calm I felt, detached, like I was observing my own life from a distance. Did you have feelings for her while we were together? I asked. It's not that simple. It's a yes or no question, Sebastian. He hesitated, looked away. I don't know, maybe. I didn't plan it. Did you spend time alone with her outside of work? Another pause, longer this time. A few times. Just brainstorming sessions. You wouldn't understand the creative industry. It's different. I nodded slowly. Did you break up with me to be with her? His face changed. Something slipped. I went out with Delilah for 3 days after we broke up, he admitted. We spent time together, and I realized, you're the one I actually want. I made a mistake, but I'm here now. I'm fighting for us. Doesn't that count for something? The way he said it, hopeful, almost proud, made something click into place. He expected credit, gratitude, like I should be thankful he came back after test driving someone else. I'm not your backup plan, I said quietly, and I'm not your beta test. I closed the door, locked the deadbolt. He cried outside for 15 minutes. I didn't open it. Later that night, a message came from an unknown number. She was never yours. Signed, Delilah. I blocked it without replying. That was the moment I stopped questioning myself. I thought closing the door on Sebastian would be the end of it. I was wrong. The next morning, my phone rang. It was Maya, my sister. Her voice was careful, like she was stepping onto thin ice. Claire, I need to tell you something before you hear it from someone else. I already knew what was coming. Sebastian called me, she said, crying. He said you won't talk to him. I'm done, I replied. My voice didn't shake. That surprised me. I know, Maya said quickly. I told him to leave you alone, but he also said something else. I closed my eyes. He said if you don't meet him, he's going to show up at your office. The words landed heavy. He actually said that? I asked. Yes, word for word. If she won't answer me, I'll go to her work. She can't ignore me there. That's insane, I said. I know, please don't meet him. You don't owe him anything. 2 days passed in uneasy quiet. No texts, no calls. I let myself believe the warning had been enough. Then, yesterday morning, while I was at my desk reviewing structural calculations, the lobby receptionist called. Her voice was tight, uncomfortable. Claire, there's someone here claiming to be your fiancé. She's insisting she needs to see you immediately. My stomach dropped. I knew. When I reached the lobby, Sebastian stood near the front desk, dressed like he was going to a job interview. Hair styled, makeup carefully done, every detail intentional. But his eyes were frantic. Claire, he said, rushing toward me, thank God. We need to talk. This has gone on long enough. We broke up, I said evenly. I've asked you not to contact me. You need to leave. He grabbed my arm. No, I'm not leaving until you hear me out. I know you're hurt, but I deserve a chance to explain in person. I'm fighting for our relationship and you're being stubborn. The receptionist looked alarmed. Heads were turning. That's when building security stepped in. Marcus, an older guard I saw every day, approached carefully. Ma'am, do you know this person? He asked me. Do you want us to escort her out? Yes, I said, to both. Sebastian's composure shattered. What? Claire, no. His voice rose. I'm her fiancé. We've been together 3 years. She's abandoning me over a misunderstanding. Tell them, Claire. Tell them we're engaged. We were never engaged, I said calmly. We broke up weeks ago. His voice went shrill. You're really doing this? After everything? After 3 years? I made one mistake and you're throwing me out like garbage. Security guided him toward the exit as he shouted my name, calling me cruel, saying I never really loved him. The entire lobby watched. I wanted to disappear. My manager pulled me aside immediately. I explained briefly, showed him the breakup text, the blocked emails, the pattern of harassment. HR was looped in within the hour. They documented everything, issued a formal no-contact directive. Professional, supportive, still humiliating. That night, I checked my spam folder. There was a long email from Sebastian sent at 2 a.m., paragraph after paragraph of confession and justification. He admitted to a 4-month emotional affair with Delilah. It started innocently, turned into private dinners, conversations about personal dreams, frustrations, doubts about me. I was too stable, too predictable. We were moving toward a settled life he wasn't sure he wanted. Then came the part that made my hands go cold. The breakup text, the one sent on my birthday, wasn't just his decision. Delilah helped him write it. They sat together and drafted every word so he could leave me cleanly and explore things with her without guilt. The timing, the cold tone, I've been thinking about this for weeks. All calculated. He ended the email with, I needed to see what life with Delilah was like, so I wouldn't resent you later. Please give me one more chance. 2 days later, Adriana called with more news. Delilah had a boyfriend, she said flatly. A serious one. She found the messages. Everything suddenly made sense. The 3-day trial hadn't failed because he chose me. It failed because Delilah couldn't choose him. HR at Sebastian's company launched an investigation. Delilah was demoted. Sebastian received an official warning. But the final escalation, the one that burned everything down, came over the weekend. Maya hosted a small family barbecue. Just close relatives. A safe space. Until Sebastian showed up, uninvited, announcing to my family that he was fighting for me. And that was the moment I decided the truth was coming out. In front of everyone. The moment Sebastian walked into Maya's backyard, the entire atmosphere shifted. 1 second, there was laughter. My uncle flipping burgers on the grill, the hiss of fat hitting fire, my mom fussing over side dishes. The next, silence fell so fast it felt physical, like the air had thickened. Sebastian stood there like he belonged, like he hadn't shattered my life weeks earlier. I'm sorry to just show up like this, he said, voice trembling as he looked around at my family. But I need you all to know something. I'm fighting for Claire. I'm not giving up on us. Everyone makes mistakes, and real love means working through hard things together. For a brief, horrifying second, I saw doubt flicker across my mother's face. My uncle lowered his beer. Maya looked torn, unsure how to intervene without escalating. That was my breaking point. I stood up. You want everyone to know the truth, I said. My voice was steady, but my hands were cold. Okay, let's tell them the truth. Sebastian's face drained of color. Claire, don't do this here. For the last 6 months, I continued, Sebastian's been having an emotional affair with his coworker, Delilah. Phone face down. New passwords. Late-night work meetings that weren't about work. That's not fair, he said weakly. On my 30th birthday, I went on, he broke up with me via text at 5:58 in the morning, after promising for months to make it special. My father's jaw tightened. My sister's mouth fell open. And that text, I said, it wasn't even his words. He and Delilah drafted it together so he could try dating her without guilt. Claire, please, Sebastian whispered. He dated her for 3 days, I said. 3. And when it didn't work out, he came back crying, telling me he'd made a mistake. Tears streamed down his face now, but he said nothing. He didn't leave me because he was unhappy, I finished. He left me to test drive someone else and kept me as his backup plan. The grill hissed behind me. No one moved. Then, I added, because the truth deserved to be whole, he showed up at my office, caused a scene so big that security had to escort him out. He called himself my fiancé to strangers. HR had to issue a no-contact directive. I looked directly at him. You didn't choose me, I said quietly. You used me as a safety net. Sebastian stood there, exposed, tears falling freely now. For 10 long seconds, no one spoke. Then he turned and ran. No one followed. After he left, my knees shook. Maya came to my side, wrapping her arms around me. My mother's face was tight with anger, not at me. I almost felt bad for him, she admitted later, until you told the whole story. That night, I cried for the first time, not for Sebastian, but for the version of myself who'd accepted so little for so long. I had hit bottom, but something inside me had also finally let go.